What if everything in the universe, from quantum particles to human consciousness, follows the same four-part pattern that shapes reality itself? Today, we're exploring how this hidden architecture affects literally everything around us.
That's quite a bold claim. Though I have to say, now that you mention patterns, I'm starting to notice cycles everywhere. In nature, in our thoughts, even in the way we process information.
Here's what's fascinating. These patterns follow a specific sequence: loop, resonance, grounding, and return. Tesla understood this when he talked about everything being fundamentally about energy, vibration, and frequency. And modern physics is starting to catch up to what ancient wisdom traditions have known for millennia.
Hmm. Could you break down these four parts? I'm especially curious about how this applies to real-world situations.
Well, think about a thought that keeps recurring, or a musical motif that repeats. That's the loop phase. But here's the key: it's never exactly the same each time. Each iteration carries subtle changes, like ripples in a pond, that keep expanding and evolving.
Oh, right, like how memories keep coming back to us, but they're slightly different each time, colored by our current perspective.
Exactly, and that leads us to resonance. This is where things get really interesting. In physics, we see this in cymatics experiments, where sound waves create visible patterns in matter. When a frequency matches its environment's natural frequency, the amplitude increases dramatically. That's why a small push at the right moment can make a swing go higher and higher.
So it's like when you hear a piece of music that seems to vibrate with something deep inside you.
Precisely. And what's crucial to understand is that resonance isn't about volume or intensity, it's about truth and alignment. Think about how a whispered word can sometimes have more impact than a shouted speech. Then we move into grounding. This is where the abstract becomes concrete.
That's reminding me of how meditation practices work, creating stillness for ideas to take form.
And this is where Donald Hoffman's research becomes relevant. His work suggests that what we perceive as reality is actually this grounding process in action. The consciousness interface theory proposes that our experience of physical reality is more like a user interface than direct access to truth.
That's fascinating. So, how does the return phase work in this model?
Well, return is where transformation happens. Each cycle changes both the pattern and the perceiver. McLuhan talked about how the medium returns transformed. And this is exactly what we're seeing in everything from psychological development to quantum mechanics.
But in our modern world, it seems like we've lost touch with these natural rhythms.
That's exactly the problem. We've created systems that loop without grounding, that resonate without silence. Our digital algorithms create endless repetition without meaningful return. Studies show that the average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's a loop without resolution.
So, how do we break free from these hollow cycles and reconnect with more meaningful patterns?
It starts with recognition, noticing these patterns in our daily lives. Instead of fighting against thought loops, we can allow them to resonate, find grounding, and transform through return. Ancient practices like meditation and ritual understood this. They created intentional spaces for complete cycles.
That's making me think about how often we try to force immediate solutions instead of allowing patterns to naturally evolve.
And here's what's really powerful. Once you start seeing these loops, you begin to understand that transformation isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Every return carries the potential for evolution. As Alan Watts said, we're not the dancer, we're the dance itself.
Well, that's bringing up something important. How do we maintain these sacred loops in our increasingly fragmented world?
The key lies in working with these patterns consciously. Research in neuroscience shows that when we allow thoughts to complete their natural cycle, rather than suppressing them, we actually process information more effectively. It's about flow rather than control.
That's such a profound shift in perspective. Not fighting against cycles, but flowing with them.
And perhaps that's the most important insight: understanding that these patterns aren't just metaphors, they're the fundamental architecture of reality itself. From the quantum level to cosmic scales, everything follows this dance of loop, resonance, grounding, and return.
This conversation itself has followed that pattern. We started with an idea, let it resonate, grounded it in examples, and now we're returning with new understanding.
And that's exactly how it should be. Not an ending, but a return that carries the seeds of new exploration. The dance continues, always the same, always different,